All right, so here is our last scenario, and this is a beneficial one to know. And this is one that is helpful helpful to manage, that is very tricky to do on a dive computer. So the question is, what's the shortest surface interval I need to take to accomplish 2 dives I want to make? In other words, what is my minimal surface interval to stay within my no decompression limit during 2 dives? All right, so here's an example. Let's say that you are out and you've got 2 different dive sites you want to go to, one of which is 25 meters deep, and you want to spend 25 minutes there. And the other dive is shallower. It's 16 meters deep, but you want to spend longer. You want to spend 45 minutes. So these you've decided are good amounts of time to be able to explore both of the sites. So the question is, if you want to pull off both of these dives, what is the shortest surface interval that you need to do in order to not run into your no decompression limit on that second dive? So we're going to use both parts of the table again, as we've done before, but this time we're going to kind of work at the start and at the end, and we'll end up sandwiching ourselves here with the surface interval part of the table. So here's how this works. So 25-meter dive. Here we are for 25 minutes. All right, so 25 minutes. Note, we're going to need to do a safety stop. And this is going to put us at pressure group N. So we're going to put a pin on this in pressure group N. We're going to remember after the first dive, we're at pressure group N. And we need to know what pressure group we need to get to in order to be able to pull off the second dive. So the second dive is to 16 meters depth. And so here we can use this adjusted no decompression limit in blue, and we can follow along here. So 16 meters depth. If we wanted to just do for example, a 22-minute dive at 16 meters depth, we would need to start that dive at pressure group Q, but we want to do longer than that. We want to do 45 minutes. So we can follow along here, and all right, here we are. So 16 meters depth. If we want to be able to spend 45 minutes at that depth, we need to make sure that we are starting off that dive in pressure group H in order for our adjusted no decompression limit to be 45 minutes. If we were starting with a bit more nitrogen, pressure group I, then we'd only be able to spend 43 minutes before we hit our NDL. All right, so at the end of the surface interval, we need to be at H. So if at the end of the surface interval, we need to be at H, and at the beginning of the surface interval, we're at N, then we find the intersection between N here and H at the bottom. So there's H and N. And so here we see that we need a minimum surface interval of 31 minutes. So our first dive gets us to N, and then with a 31-minute surface interval, that gets us to H, and H with a 16-meter dive gives us a 45-minute adjusted no decompression limit, and that is what we need in order to pull off the second dive.